say that, like, after you like left Arsenal, when did you realise that coaching was what you wanted to do?
Good question. I left Arsenal at 18, so I still carried on playing football, so I've got a little bit of a journey. Left Arsenal at 18, went to Wigan for a year. Left Wigan after that year, went to Aldershot for another year, got injured, had 2 operations, had an adductor and a hernia. Wow. Then when I got fit, I was out for about 6 or 7 months. When I got fit, I went to Crawley Town. That lasted
Can we talk on like injuries? I think, do you know what it is? People don't understand how significant injuries are, because I always get to like things floating around where people say, some guys always say they could have been footballers, but they tore their ACL or stuff like that. But people need to understand that these are serious injuries. That these are serious things that that really put a dent in footballers' confidence, and especially like back then, the way like operations are done now, it wasn't like that back then. So you could get an injury like an ACL tear and not even know if you're gonna feel the same again. Like, so can we just talk about how like important those kind of injuries are, and how like it puts a major dent in
whether you were
players'
supported
confidence.
Yeah. Okay. So to answer your question, before I answer that one, I'll cut a long story short. I started coaching in 2007.
Yeah, I was born.
So, I must. So he's born. That's crazy. That's crazy. He was born in 2007. And that's when I started. Huh?
What month?
Oh, I can't remember what month.
Yeah.
But I remember, because that's when he was coaching me.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it 2007?
2007, yeah, 2007, 2008.
What team did you coach my uncle at?
Darren Watson.
Yeah, Darren Watson.
Northwest.
Yeah.
It was like a Northwest coaching football program that we used to run. And then that's where Sam joined, and my brother was in the team as well. And that's when I started coaching properly. And in 2008, I started coaching at Chelsea. And then started working towards my UEFA B.
Sick.
So to come to you, your question, Sam.
Yeah.
Injuries, they play an important role because it's how you bounce back from the injury. I mean, my injury, if I'm honest, wasn't life-threatening, and it didn't stop me from playing football, but it was a little bit of a stumbling block. And I could have bounced back if I made better decisions, but I guess I allowed my injury to affect me a little bit. And the biggest decision that I made that I felt was wrong was going to play non-league football. So in my head, I said to myself, right, I've been injured. I don't really want to go on trial anywhere. I just want to play football. Yeah. And I decided to just go and play football. Yeah. And it was good. It was, a few days, give me a few £100 a week, cash in hand. It just made sense. Yeah. I thought, give myself a season, 2 seasons, and I'll be back playing where, at the level that I want to be playing at. And it doesn't happen that way. Once you jump into non-league football, it's so difficult to climb back up. Really? And I found it challenging. Scouts and that would come and watch, but the level you're playing at, it's so difficult for you to be picked in and amongst all the rubble. And I say that because the pitches aren't the best, the standards not the best. It's literally end to end, and it's difficult to adapt to that style of play when you've always played football on the floor. Yeah. So that was probably, upon reflection, my worst decision in football, to go and play non-league football. But I had no real person advising me and supporting me.
Do you think that the generation we're in now, that the league should go to like lower league to find players now, or?
Yeah, I think you can. There's loads of good players in non-league, by the way.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm not slating non-league. I think non-league is really good. I'm just saying, from my own decision-making process, going to non-league at that time probably wasn't wise for me. I could have stayed a lot higher.
Because you know what it is like, that thing where like if you haven't come from like an academy, you haven't played for the scholar for the 2 years, but you've been told, okay, after let's say you might go to a Saturday team's like academy or whatever, and then you always get told by people, oh, go and now start playing men's football. So people be doing that from, let's say, 19 to like 20 something, but they're not busting that. Why is that?
The older you get, the more difficult it is. That's the reality. Because the older you get, you're becoming a man. And of course, everyone understands the process of, development. But when you become 19, 20, if you're going to be signed, they're signing you as a first team player. You're no longer classed as a youth team player. And not many clubs, maybe the Cat 1 clubs would sign under 23 players from non-league clubs, but there aren't many of the Cat 2, Cat 3 clubs that would sign a 20-year-old if he's not already established non-league player. So it's difficult to make it, but I wouldn't say that it's not good to go and recruit from non-league football. I think it can be quite powerful, because if you're 19 and you're playing non-league and you're effectively playing against men, if you're a striker and you're scoring goals at that level and you're getting, beaten up by 34-year-old men, 28-year-old men who have maybe fallen lower and lower, down the leagues, I think that's brilliant. Because when you put if you put that 19-year-old in an under-23s team, he'll come to life. The only thing that they will be missing is the tactical understanding of what it means to play at that level, the movement, and then also the little maybe technical attributes that they may need. When we're talking about technical consistency and proficiency, they may be lacking in those areas. But in terms of everything else that comes with the game, especially the dark arts of the game, being able to pull on the shoulder of the centre back, or getting your elbow into him, or getting your arm across his face, getting up and protecting yourself, they can learn that really early, which is probably what the academy boys won't have. So the non-league players will have what our academy boys don't have, and vice versa.
Did you get? So how was that? Did they break that down in Arsenal in terms of? Did they coach you that as well in terms of the tactical awareness, or how to use your body and things like that?
Yeah, I think all academy coaches, those things are given, but it's the style of play that doesn't always cater to the needs of first team football, which is why a lot of the clubs, or a lot of the top clubs anyway, will try and loan their players out at 19, 20, 21, because it's good for them to go and get the experience of playing first team football. And I say that's important. It doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, and you're the best player in the team. I believe going on loan or getting a feel of first team football is invaluable. Nothing beats it.
So you like the things like what, let's say, Jadon Sancho, what he done in terms of going to Dortmund. I'm not saying like obviously it's the same level what you're saying, but I'm just saying in terms of being loaned out to a different league and things like that. Because you hear some people, they disagree with it and they say, oh no, you should stay. You should fight for your position and wait your turn. But obviously, if you have another opportunity at a different club where you can get more minutes and get an experience, whether that be at a lower league, you would recommend that. You would definitely. Yeah,
it's all dependent on the stage that you are in your development. If you are at a stage where you've not outgrown, under 18s, under 23s football, then I think it's good to go and get first team experience. But if there's still areas of your game that need to be tweaked, that need to be developed, then by all means you stay until you're ready. But the moment you are ready, then you go and play first team football, because what can happen is you can have failed loans, you can have failed moves, and if you move permanently and you fail, the only way you go is down. You're better off trying to ensure that you are at the right level at your club before making a decision to move. Sancho, as an example, as you've mentioned him, clearly it was the right decision for him. He's ready to play first team football. He's taken a gamble, but it's a calculated gamble because he knows he is good enough to play. Whereas some players, they see it as, I want to go and learn, I want to go and learn, I want to move, but you're probably not ready to move. And that's why I go back to being honest with where you are as a footballer.
As a player,
and everyone has a different pathway. That's one thing I always say. Don't look at other players and compare. You are different, and you have to look at what skills and attributes you have, and you have to map out your own pathway. And if that means you stay at your club till you're 23, then stay at your club till you're 23, because you would like to be in football till at least you're 35. So just stay, develop, whatever areas it might be, and then go when the time is right for you. It's all about timing.
Do you think it's better to? No. Do you think the older you get, the harder it is to get into an academy?
Yes, and I think that goes without saying, because when you all academies recruit from quite young. A lot of academies have development centres at 6, 7, 8 years old, and every academy tries to recruit at 9 years old, primarily because you get more time to spend with players. You get to build a foundation with them, and as you get older, playing grassroots football, you're naturally going to develop bad habits. You're naturally not going to be coached to the standard of players in academies. So yeah, naturally it does get more difficult. As you can imagine, you've got a player who's been in the academy system for 6 years. You've come out of grassroots. Instantly you're going to be compared with him. He's going to have been exposed to a level of coaching that you haven't. So yeah, undoubtedly it will be difficult.
Like, could you mention any of those bad habits?
So I mean, from a tactical perspective, I've seen a lot of grassroots coach, and this isn't blanket and judging all grassroots coaches, but they may not coach the tactical element of the game. There's the technical side of things as well, and all these things are down to facilities. They also play a massive part. So if you play grassroots, you might be restricted to a small area, which limits the type of work that you can do with the players and the individuals. Also with grassroots, you might have 25 players in a team, and again, you're playing in a tight area. It's difficult. And then on a Sunday, you're playing on a pitch that's really boggy, and it's cold and wet and windy. So in terms of trying to develop players, it's really, really hard. Plus the parents pay to play. So you're obligated to, again, play those players. Otherwise, parents are upset. They want to leave. They've paid the money. So I think there are lots of contributing factors that, force players to develop a lot of bad habits. And that's primarily because the facilities and the coaches don't have the time to dedicate to the players. And of course, if you imagine the training session, they probably train once, twice a week, if possible, So I would say the tactical areas of development are limited, because again, a lot of the coaches, they're part-time, but they just come from work. They come from work. They may not even have qualifications. Could be someone's dad, someone's uncle, someone's big brother who's giving it a go. So the level is very, very different. So players will struggle from a tactical perspective. From a technical perspective, they're limited because of resources. Even things like footballs at academies, we're spoiled. Each kid, each boy will probably have a football, but at grassroots, that might not be the case. They're probably sharing 4 footballs between 20 players. So, and that, it may not be that extreme, but it's challenging for them.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
How hard is it to become a coach of an academy? Like what's the process of becoming a coach of an academy?
Good question. It's really difficult. My journey, how I got in. So I did my UEFA B. Luckily for me, thank God, I was doing my UEFA B at Cobham, at Chelsea.
Oh, okay.
So I was at the training ground at the time. I did it with the PFA. And my old Arsenal coach happened to be working at Chelsea and was walking past.
Wow.
His name's Dermot Drummy. He passed away a couple of years ago. So Dermot was walking past with Eddie Newton. Don't know if you guys know Eddie Newton. So the two of them were walking past. I saw Dermot, said hi. And it's another thing about character and making sure that, I always say, you don't burn bridges in football. So he obviously remembered me. I was a good kid and whatnot, and he liked me. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just doing my UEFA B." He said, "Do you want to come down and do a session?" I was like, "Yeah, obviously, no brainer." So I went down and did a session, and the rest is history. I think the manager at the time, still there at the moment, he watched the session, and that was it. I went into the office. The only thing he noticed was that I was wearing Nike Air Force Ones. And it was an Adidas club because they were sponsored by Adidas. So that's the first thing he picked out. He goes, "Ooh." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Oh, you wear Nike." I was just like, "Yeah, they're Air Force." He said, "Oh, we wear Adidas around there." I was like, "Oh."
Just give me a pair.
So, and that's how I got in. In a nutshell, and the rest has been history. I've been there ever since. So don't burn bridges, number one. You got to do your coaching qualifications. But I'll also say coaching is a very humbling journey.
Yes.
Because
it's a long process.
It's a very long process, because you will start part-time, and depending on the club that you are, you probably earn very little money. and that can sometimes be off-putting for a lot of players, for
Yeah.
a lot of coaches. Sorry, and if you're not earning a lot and you're sacrificing a lot, there probably come a time when with some coaches where they just pack it in and say, you know what, I can't do this no more because it's not.
Did you
really
come to
paying
that
the
point
bills.
in terms of where you had to like question your career choices?
Yes, I did. Did you want to ask a question before I go into this?
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Go on.
say for people that weren't as lucky as you to like have the people you had to help you get to your positions.
Mm-hmm.
How would they do that? Like,
Good question.
Another good question. Well done, Malachi.
Do you know what? If I'm honest, when people tell me they want to coach, I'm almost like, don't do it because it's painful. It's a painful journey.
People don't realise how.
so what do you mean by painful? Like the losing
Because-
or something?
No. It's all right. So typically, you would get your level 1 coaching badge, which might cost you about £150. You would do your level 2, which is about double that, maybe £300-400. And then you'll begin coaching, and you might be earning £15 a session, £15 an hour if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that at 23, 24, it doesn't amount to a lot of money. So it's all dependent on what you're doing as well as the coaching, because you can't survive on that. Let's say you're earning, I don't know, £150 from coaching a month. You start to think, I can't live on this. And if you're living at home, and if you've got parents like what mine was like, Mum, you need to be doing more than this £150, £200. Not that was what I was earning. I was earning more than that. But it's really, really difficult for someone to commit to coaching when you've got other stresses of life. So I always say, if you're ready for the journey, then you do it. But if you know that you're not, you may as well just knock it on the head now. So you have to be prepared to earn 15, 20 quid, and you have to be prepared to do that for a long period of time. And then to get your UEFA-B, it cost about £1,000.
Yeah, and not everyone has access to
Not
that kind of
everyone
money.
has £1,000, especially when it's not guaranteed. And when you get your UEFA-B, you're probably entitled to request a little bit more money, and that might look like £30, £25 if you're coaching at grassroots. But again, grassroots, that you don't get a lot of flexibility with how much you can pay. At an academy, you earn a bit more, but even then there were loads of part-time coaches who have to have a second, sometimes a third job. And when I started coaching, I think I was doing quite a fair few things. And then to come to your question, and I'll continue where I left off. Your question was the decision-making process, or where I got to. So the toughest part of my coaching decision-making process came when I was in, how old was I? I must have been about 27. So I had said to myself when I was playing football at Arsenal that if, the time when I told you I got injured, and then I played non-league, I gave myself a 2-year target, and that target was get back playing where I wanted, which I think I've said to you, or go to university.
Right.
Because I kind of always wanted to study, and as I said, my mum was always on to me about education. So I decided to go to university, and I studied marketing and advertising because I didn't want to do sports. I wanted to stay away from it.
Yeah.
So I studied marketing and advertising, and in my last year of university, I was still playing semi-pro at the time. I think I was playing Conference South for St Albans. So I was playing semi-pro at St Albans. I was at university, and I was coaching at Chelsea. And at university, I wanted to give it my all. So I wanted to, in a nutshell, I wanted to achieve a first class and almost, shatter all the stereotypes. And I can do it. So I decided to look at all three, and I said, I can't do this because I'm going to kill myself. I want to do uni, so uni's ticked off. So the only two I can make a sacrifice with was football or coaching. Obviously, you know that I would have chosen. I obviously chose football, and the reason why I chose to stop playing football was because I was 27. I believe that there was really not much more of development that I could have. There was, I believe I'd reached the top of the ceiling in the sense that even if, someone came in for me at 27, 28, I would have maybe 4 good years to play at a good level. And if I was playing, you know, League 2 as an example, let's say I was earning £1,000 a week, you know, I said that's £4,000 a month over, you know, 12 months. I said just under 50 grand a year. I was like, it's not a lot of money. It's not 50 grand a year at 27, 28 for the next 2 or 3 years. I thought it's not a lot of money. So I don't want to stop coaching because coaching is long term. Coaching's going to see me through till, God knows, I'm 70 years old or whatnot. So I decided in a nutshell to stop playing football because I tried to calculate it and I said it wasn't worth it. And that hurt me. But I knew that I needed to do that. Yeah, I knew it. I needed to do that. So that was probably my toughest decision. But I look back now, and although I missed out on a lot of football, I don't regret my decision. No. Because I wouldn't be in a position that I'm in now. Yeah. And I know that, you know, I still got a good journey ahead of me. So that was probably the toughest part of my decision-making process. And of course, I enjoyed education and I got what I wanted at uni. So.
Could you see over the time that you was playing and everything like that, could you see, because I know like coaching back then isn't how coaching is now in terms of the career ladder, in terms of the opportunities that you have for, you know, for anyone, or not anyone to make it, but even like what the FA are doing in terms of, I think my brother, because he's a UEFA B coach as well, and he got on a program where they offered it to, was it Black, Asian, you know.
The BME.
Yeah.
BAME.
Yeah, that's the one. Like, could you see it when you decided, okay, I'm going to take on coaching? Could you see that you'd be getting to this level where you are currently now at Chelsea? And because obviously it is a big risk. Because for me personally, when I started, because I was coaching, I only done level 1 because my heart weren't really in it. As much as I love working with young people and that, but I looked at it and I said, boy, am I going to continue? Like you said, in terms of the sacrifice and then, you know, getting paid £15 to £30 an hour or session or whatever. I couldn't see it when I looked at it in the future. Could you see it in terms of where it was going in terms of coaching now and the opportunities that you had?
The truth is no. I never saw myself being a footballer at the early age I started playing. I just fell into it. And the truth is I fell into coaching. Yeah. Because I wanted to coach, but I didn't know where it could take me. I had no idea. And I never had my eyes set on, you know, working at the club that I do at the moment. I was just coaching. And then after a few years, I began to realise this is actually what I want to do. I found value in it. And again, it's almost like I discovered a skill and a passion that I didn't know I had. I've always been good with people. I've always been passionate about helping people and supporting people. And all I did was use the skill that I naturally have and the passion that I have to help people, and I just fused them together. And hey presto, I guess I fell into coaching. Yeah, well, that's amazing. And I love it. And now, I've got a pathway that I want to go down, and, you know, loads of goals that I want to try and achieve. So I love my job. Oh, that's sick. I love my job.
So, you coaching at Chelsea, how far are you trying to take your coaching? Are you trying to be like a coach, or do you want to be like a first team coach, or just want to stay in the academy?
The thing with me is I'm very development focused. Yeah. So I really want to support player development and individuals. When you get into the first team environment, it is ruthless and it is about 3 points. Yeah. Your life is on the line. And because it's so results based and driven by the 3 points, it's a challenge for me, but it's something that I want to do. It's something that I believe I'm capable of doing, because I believe that I have the skill sets to be able to work in the first team environment. But I don't want to lose sight of what my values are, and that's to help people. So if players get dropped, you know, or players are being sold, all that kind of stuff, saga that goes on, I don't want to be the type of coach that doesn't care about individuals, because there is life after football. And even within football affects life. And I'm sure a lot of coaches know and understand that, but the game has to cater to that more. And that's probably what I don't want to trade off when I go into working into a first team environment. I don't want to trade off the fact that people are people first and not just footballers. And sometimes we forget that. So you guys podcast, when you're discussing players, you probably don't always realise what is going on in people's minds, where they've come from, their background, etc. You don't know what could have happened at home before they got to their job,
that's what I'm
which
talking
is
about.
football.
Lingard, players like Lingard, like even like on a serious note, like when you look at players like Lingard, I'm not saying that he's young now, but in terms of what he's going with, and you can see his performance has gone downhill. You can see, for me, I kind of look at that side in terms of the aspect of, you know, he is human. He's probably going through. We don't even know what he's going through in terms of his mum and But people just look at it, like you said. People are very ruthless, and that's not just in the club. That's just the whole footballing world in terms of the fans, the pundits, and everything like that. It's just like, you're getting paid this amount of money. You should be getting these types of performances. But they forget that, you know, people go through, you know, health issues, injuries, personal issues with relationships. So it's just like.
And the majority of players, I assure you, play injured. I assure you, they play injured. No one is ever, or you're very rarely 100% fit. There's always a toe, a knee, a hamstring, your back, your head, or you're unwell. So sometimes when you see bad performances, players often mask stuff. But they don't, you know, do a post-match interview and complain. I was too ill, but, you know, I still made it. So you guys should be happy. They don't do that. They get on with their job because they realise it is their job. And, you know, they have to stay focused on task. They have to honour their contract. And players get on with it. But there are a lot of things that do affect performance at times that they may not always disclose, or managers won't disclose.
Do you think? Do you think it's easier to get scouted or get play for a professional team outside of the UK?
Ask me that again. Go on.
Like, do you think it's easier to get scouted or play for a professional team outside the UK?
As a local London boy, being scouted. So an example. So being scouted by, I don't know, Borussia Dortmund as an example. That's extremely difficult. So it's very difficult for other European clubs to scout grassroots players because of the level that's required when you go over there. If they're gonna scout you, you have to be an incredible talent, and then you're probably gonna look at academies, and you're not allowed to scout under 16s because of all the child trafficking laws that are in place. So you can't do that at all. So I hope that answers your question.
What about in general? So let's say just like a local German kid getting scouted in Germany compared to a local London kid getting scouted in London. Are the chances similar?
Higher,
Does one has a better chance or not?
No, they're pretty similar. I wouldn't see it as too different. I mean, so again, the club that I work at, we have a wide, you know, recruitment base where we look at players, you know, all over England and all over the country. But you can't sign any international players between the age of 9 to 16 because, again, like I say, all the safeguarding rules and, you know, child trafficking and all the rest of it. But you can sign players who are over the age of 16, and that's where most clubs would, you know, pounce and, you know, approach clubs and approach players and families, etc., to try and sign them.
How does the scouting system work? Because I don't really feel like there's a lot of scouting done at grassroots. So how does
there's loads of scouting done at grassroots.
It must be.
The scouts cover loads of games.
They cover a lot.
I won't say they're everywhere.
I'm saying that when I was coaching and I didn't really see like scouts really come to like maybe mid-week games or like, you know, Saturday league games and stuff like that. So do you have to be like an established like Saturday league, Sunday league team for the?
I think that helps.
Okay.
It helps because it also depends on the caliber of players that you have. So if you're, I don't know, Sam Academy as an example, and you're smashing teams every week, naturally you're gonna raise alarm bells. So people will want to come and see Sam's Academy play football, and of course as they begin to come and watch you guys play football and watch your age groups, then players will be scouted. So it's all dependent on how well your academy does, or your team, your grassroots team. And if they're doing really well, people will hear, especially if one player goes on trial at another club, then everyone wants to come and watch. But it is down to the coach sometimes to do a little bit of work. You gotta be making noise. Otherwise, if you're the little team in Tufnell Park and no one knows you and you're not winning any games, there's no reason for a scout to come and watch the game.
Yeah.